Hey, good morning, everybody. How's it going? We're gonna start, I think. So my name's Nick. My artist name is TAETRO. Hi, everybody who's watching on Instagram Live and all that. But here at 343, I'm starting to work with them doing some like content stuff. So aside from being an electronic musician, I do a lot on social media. That's basically like my main platform is using like YouTube and Instagram to like share my music, which is a little weird because you usually think about like Spotify or like selling records, SoundCloud as being like the main platform for an electronic musician. And for me, it's really not. I started using like video and visuals to represent my work because I saw that that's where the audience was for the most part. So that's kind of how I got my start in social media. From there, just started doing more and more and understanding the different levels of social media, the different platforms, how to apply it in different ways. And today I just want to kind of take you through sort of my journey and like my history, how I got started and some of the things I picked up along the way. And hopefully that can help you guys and like your journey being an artist, no matter what you do, using social media to promote it. And I want to just talk a little bit about what I do, how I started, what I'm doing now, and then we can open it up for like Q&A and have like more of a discussion base because I'm sure everybody has like their own personal situations or you want to go through how you share your own work, that kind of stuff. Sound good?
Yeah. Woo. So, yeah, as Nick said, he's now helping us. One of the things that, Max and I found out as we started the school is that content is so important these days, in the music industry. And that's something where there's really like very specific things that you need to know. So we realized quickly that we didn't have the skills to do it. So we brought Nick in to help us. He traveled down from Boston to be here today.
Yeah.
And he's been recording a lot of content for us. So for example, yesterday he was doing some tutorials with John Selway and Abe, that we'll be posting on our YouTube channel. So really excited to start like coming out with some tutorials and complement our courses with some more material. So really excited to have you here.
Yeah.
He's also like already a good friend of us. So happy to have you here. We brought you some snow.
Yeah, totally. Every time I come to New York, like the past 3 times, it's been like snowy, rainy, dreary. I haven't seen the sun in New York yet. I don't think it comes out here.
And we have a few people that haven't been here before, so Richard, thank you for coming. And he can hear because he knows you from your.
Oh, nice. Dope. Hey.
So this is already working,
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you, everyone. And,
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so like Nacho said, I'm from Boston, like I'm from Massachusetts. I actually live just south of Boston, and I've kind of lived there my whole life. And got into music production like pretty young because I was doing like singer-songwriter stuff, and I really wanted to be able to produce my own music, and I didn't want to have to pay for a studio. So that's kind of how I got into using like Ableton Live and production, and then from there went away from like the folk singer-songwriter thing and became like super into electronic music and beat making and like controllerism. Like I was really fascinated by different types of controllers and things like that. So I went to college for music. I thought I was going to be like a concert band director, like work in a high school or work in a school or something, and then quickly realized that that was not really going to be for me, but I still wanted to stay like studying music. So I did that at a state school in Massachusetts. And while I was there, that's when I was like developing this love for electronic music, but like there, it wasn't really, people didn't think it was like really a thing, like people weren't super into electronic music there. It was like classical or jazz with some really like artsy like electronic side, like very like academic, not very like contemporary. So I got more and more into controllerism as I was there, and I kind of just like didn't let them tell me what direction to go. I kind of just went a direction and did my own thing and got away with it. I think I probably couldn't have gotten away with it today with the new leadership there, but I managed to. I knew a lot of the professors really well, and they kind of let me do my own thing. So for my senior recital, I put together this piece called Rain, which was like this controllerism piece that I used a bunch of different Novation controllers. I used a launch key, a Launchpad Mini, and a launch control. And it was basically just like an ambient kind of beat session. And I performed that at my senior recital. I composed it specifically for that. And I tried to video it, but the video didn't come out so well. So what I ended up doing was just like recreating that performance and shooting it like at my house, just sitting on the floor. I called it a floor session, and it looked like this. It looked kind of like shaky. We won't watch the whole thing, but you notice like starts with some random little B-roll here. and then a rain sample, hence the term rain, and then it just switches to this stagnant shot, me sitting there on the floor. This, I should preface this journey we're about to go on, looking at my old videos, is a bit of like a hair journey. So like when I started this channel, I had a completely shaved head and no beard or anything, and then eventually you might get to a point where I have like colorful hair and like, but just you know, it's all me. So like really like sketchy, like shaky B-roll. Like this is like the first like real video I did on this channel, and this was when I was still like coming up with the artist identity of like TAETRO, like what is TAETRO, what does that mean? And boiled it down to like this type of stuff. So it's like really super ambient. It builds up towards the end. We're not going to watch the whole thing. Obviously, I won't bore you, but if we just go a little further, you get a vibe for what it turns into. It's literally just this shot the whole time. Nothing too fancy. This video was shot on like a Canon Rebel T2i that my friends and I went 3 ways on because none of us could afford like a nice camera. So this is just what I had edited together. The frame rate is like super sketchy. I did not know what I was doing. But this video is really important because this was the first video that kind of I had honed what I wanted to do as like an electronic musician on YouTube. So I wanted to do these performances, and one thing that I realized was like not a lot of people were doing this, and not a lot of people were like explaining how to do this. So you'd see all these performances on like Ableton's site or on like Novation's site, and there was never like a real good explanation of how it worked at this time. Now there's tons of that, but you would always have to like dive into the comments and talk about like how it worked or whatever. So I was really getting super into that and figuring out how to do this and doing it for myself. This video, like I had probably like 600 subscribers at the time, just from this video after making this video, because it got picked up by Novation. So at this time, like right now, brands will just share whatever. Like brands will repost stuff on Instagram or on their Facebook pages, and they'll tag the artist, and that just happens like daily. Back a couple of years ago, it was more like brands would reach out and say, hey, like, can we use this? So it was like a little bit of a different culture. And Novation reached out and they were like, hey, we really like this performance. Can we share it? And I was like, well, hell yeah, like, please. And I was like super, super thrilled that they wanted to share it. Just because like I loved using their products, obviously, and it got me a lot of attention. So like I had barely any subscribers on this channel, and then just from that one little bit of attention, it like boosted it up to like 600, which was cool because it was like a quick amount of attention in a short amount of time. And this video is a couple years old, so most like of these views are from then. It's actually from 2014, so this is like older than I thought. But it gained a lot of quick attention, and then from there, I will jump back and go to my videos. Hopefully I'm not super loud. All right, cool. From there, what I thought I would do, I'll sort it by the oldest. What I thought I could do from there is just recreate that and recreate that success. So if you notice, just by looking at like these early videos, make this full screen. You see like tracks with like just album art and the like title of the track or whatever, and not very many views. And that's because YouTube's a visual platform. Why would anybody click on and watch like the album art while the song plays, you know? Most people don't do that. So after Rain, I thought, oh, I'll just recreate that. I'll recreate what I did before, and people will like it because obviously they liked it the first time. So I figured I would do that, and I did it again for another performance, but you notice this got not nearly as many views. I think the performance is fine. I just think there's not a ton of value in just sharing a performance. And obviously, like Novation wasn't gonna share every single performance that I made. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. It's not like I can just set up my gear on the floor, do a session, and get 50,000 views every time. So like, what's the difference here? For like a year or so, just kind of kept going with that idea, like just making music like normally, like producing music, putting it out on like normal channels in very traditional ways, like just upload the song to YouTube basically, and then do these other sessions that have no intro It's just like a cold open, like any of these just starts. Sometimes it starts with a cat. That's kind of funny, right? Internet cat. But like just start and making music. Never talked to the camera, never did anything like that. Maybe did like a cover with a friend, more stuff. And then about 2 years of that go by and not really getting any traction, like no growth in the channel. It's still like hovering around the 600 subscriber mark. Even though like I felt good about the performances and I felt good about the music I was making, I realized that I was not reaching an audience. Like the audience was not connecting with any of the work. So it could have been like the best electronic tracks ever, but it doesn't matter if people weren't like consuming it or it wasn't in a format that people wanted to consume it in. At this point, of like right now or back then? Back then, I was doing it super sporadically and super inconsistently. So it was probably like a video a month, maybe. Or like when I went on that short burst of like, oh, let me recreate the success, I was probably like, oh, let me put out a couple more this month. And then it petered out because I didn't get the success that I wanted. I didn't get the reaction that I wanted. So a couple years of that just go by. Kind of tried again a year later, and I had to like assess like why was I not connecting with an audience and why were people not really watching the videos and not subscribing too, because views matter. But then if you think about it, if people make that active choice to subscribe to your channel, they're like really thinking about like, I want to follow this artist, like I want to keep track of you on your journey. And that's all about like building a community. Like you want people to be centered around you and your art. So having people click subscribe was always more important to me than the views, or that's what I came to realize after this experience. So there were like 3 solid things that my early videos were missing that I kind of assessed and figured out that I needed to apply to future videos if I really wanted to do this YouTube thing. One was consistency. So like I said, I was not uploading consistently. There was no schedule, no rhythm to it. It was kind of just random. So why would you subscribe if you don't know the next time I'm going to post a video, or if you don't know, or if you look at my channel and the last time I posted a video was last month? Like why click subscribe? Why would you subscribe to a magazine that comes whenever it feels like it? You know, you subscribe to a magazine that comes once a month and you can count on it. And then there was no value. Maybe there's like a tiny bit of value in seeing somebody perform with these specific controllers. But in terms of like real, like, let me help you show you how to do this, there was none of that. It was basically just like, here's an example of me using the controllers. And then personality. Like I talked about before, there were no intros on these videos. Never talk to the camera. The cat at the beginning, or there's the cat at the end of the other one. Like that was the most personality you would get out of one of these videos. So how was I supposed to connect with an audience if there was no personality? So I decided to just go ahead and really think about that and kind of go full force into providing those things: consistency, personality, and value. So I was tempted to put out weekly videos from there on out. So that provided me with the consistency. So I knew if somebody came to the channel, they would at least see the last upload was from a week ago, if not like 3 days ago. So they could expect to see a video within a week's time. And then in terms of personality, I ended up doing talking to the camera or talking to the audience. Let's see if this loads with an ad. So this was also an example of like providing value. So then I figured I could give people sound packs. Go out, do field recording, make my own sounds, and then just give them away. So automatically you come to the channel and you get some value.
Hey,
and
what's
then
going on, guys? This is TAETRO here with my very first
time
tutorial video.
I ever like talked to the like camera. Hey guys, this is TAETRO. And finally, like you have some means of connection there. And that went a long way. So that was the first tutorial that I did. 36,000 views, launch key mini performance techniques, like super broad, but doing the intro and saying, hey, this is TAETRO, like it makes you connect with the person behind the camera or behind the performance. And you're like, oh, this guy seems to know what he's talking about, I guess. I'll give him a subscribe and see what he comes out with next. It's not just random. Another note about this. So obviously I was super into like music and music gear, but I really hated video and video editing. Absolutely hated it. Never wanted to mess with it. And what I realized about before, when it came down to consistency, I couldn't make videos consistently because I hated video editing and shooting video, and the Canon Rebel camera was like too complicated to work with, and like formats and all that. So what I ended up doing to solve that problem, even though I sacrificed a lot of quality, was I shot these early videos on my Galaxy Note 4, and then I would upload the video to Drive and download it onto my iPad mini and edit it on an iPad mini. So that was the only way that I was able to achieve a consistency. I basically just made it as easy as possible. And even though I sacrificed quality, like this video is super sketchy. Like this video is like shaky. It's got that blue filter on it, which is like one of the stock iMovie filters. But it still gained me like way more attention than like me trying to recreate the success of the Rain performance. Why? I think because it added personality. It was me marking some consistency on the channel, and it added the personality of me actually being a voice or a person, not just like a random dude performing electronic music. And then giving away the sound packs, that was another example. But yeah, so like as that goes on further and further, it became about community engagement because I noticed people would come back and comment. So I came up with this idea of gear grab when the channel was very early. The idea of gear grab being like, I could say, hey, I have all this gear, drop a comment and let me know what you want me to use, like pick 3 things. And people were super into that because it encouraged them to comment and share their opinion. And they basically got a hand in me making content. So I engaged the community very quickly that way. And you notice, like, sure, this tutorial, like, that probably provided the most value. So that's sitting at, like, 36,000 views originally. And then the gear grabs are getting, like, upwards above 3,000, which is cool. That's cool for, like, consistent video output. And then it just kind of went from there. Then I started thinking more about, okay, how can I continue to provide value, do some live streams, more tutorials, how to Ableton and Sampler. Did a giveaway, which basically at this point of the channel, like I literally just bought the Newmark Orbit and and sent it to somebody. Like I was just sponsoring my own giveaway. It's not like that was sponsored or anything. You know, it's the most successful videos are the ones that people can take the most value from. This one right here did pretty well, I think, because of the thumbnail and because of the gear. The gear looks really cool. Sound packs usually do well. Q&A doesn't do so well, but what it did help me do is build that small community, the people that were returning. So if at least this like 250 plus mark was people who would come and like comment and talk, like this person who commented right here became a moderator on my Facebook group, which we'll talk about later. But it was about like caring about the small community and not doing everything for the larger audience. Yeah.
When you go from videos that had 30,000 views compared to 1,000, was it organically, or do you think you had someone that referred you on a blog, or did you see that as someone directly traffic to you?
For the most part, it's organic. And it comes down to a lot of like these platforms all have their own algorithms. They all have their own means of like how they put your content in front of people. And it really just rewards content that it initially sees as organically successful. So like if a video has like a really dope thumbnail, like this Launchpad video has like a pretty dope thumbnail for somebody who's interested in that stuff. People were going to initially click on it. So YouTube's going to put it in front of more faces because it knows that it's like pretty valuable to people. And that's kind of how videos get like pushed out to more and more people. So like a Q&A is not going to do so well. Who's this random dude doing a Q&A? Nobody cares except the people who are already subscribed, So it doesn't push it out to as many new listeners as possible. Did more and more, and what I wanted to come up with was a solid, solid elevator pitch of like what the channel was, so that every time you came to the channel, you knew exactly what you were going to get. So it became, what's going on, everybody? My name's TAETRO. If you enjoy live electronic music performances, tutorials, and free sound packs, you should click subscribe. So you knew that if I uploaded a video, it was going to be one of those three things. And that eliminated you couldn't be let down coming to the channel because I opened every video and told you exactly what would happen. So you couldn't be disappointed if I put up a performance tutorial or a sound pack because you knew what to expect. Then things got interesting. So I was doing it more and more consistently, taking it pretty seriously, doing the gear grabs, doing more and more with Novation products, and people start to take notice. So right around here is where things get a little weird. I made this video. So like right now I work with brands all the time. I work with brands like Native Instruments and Novation and Rolly and all these brands. Whenever something new comes out, like I get it for free and I get it in advance, and it's really awesome just from making like these videos. The weirdest example of this is this video right here. I already have it loaded. This video is called Before You Buy Rolly Blocks. Now, if you don't know what Rolly Blocks are, they're like these, Rolly makes like the Seaboard products, and they put out this thing called the Rolly Blocks, which are like these light pads that you can play on, and they're like MPE, which means you can like slide and glide around on them, and I was like super interested in them. In this video, and like again, we're not going to watch the whole video, I go to the Apple Store and look at it and play with it, and I think I'm going to buy it. I'm like, oh, it's pretty cool. Let me maybe try it out and maybe buy it. And then I come home and I say, I didn't buy it because I didn't like it. And this video like blew up for one reason or the other. I don't know why. It could have been like the clickbaity like title, the clickbaity thumbnail. But what I was doing was like using my expertise and my opinion, not even expertise, just my opinion about like why I didn't think this product was the greatest and why I wasn't ready to just spend my money on it. And what happened was when you searched Rolly Blocks for a couple of years, this was the very first video that would come up. And essentially, and we'll go back to this concept later, is like that was me buying real estate. That was me having like this solid piece of real estate on YouTube where if somebody searched for a product, I was the first thing that they saw. Not because I paid for placement or anything, but just because it got picked up that way. So people obviously reacted to this a lot. Tons of comments, tons of conversation, people making similar points, people arguing back and forth, and like that's cool. But what was even cooler was Rolly responded in a comment talking about all the points that I brought up about features and all these things and kind of saying, hey, we're listening, thanks so much. And on that comment alone got 59 replies from people in my community about why, because they knew that Rolly was listening. So they knew that they could be there and give feedback. And what this ultimately ended up doing is giving me a ton of leverage because I was pretty negative on the Rolly products. They didn't have the feature set that I wanted or I needed, and they heard me. And the video went not viral, but the video was like I said, a piece of real estate. When you search Rolly Blocks, that's what came up. So when the time came and they started literally making all the improvements and making all the adjustments that I talked about in this video, I'm sure they were in the pipeline already, but having a video like this out for a brand, I can imagine is pretty like scary because you're like, oh crap, now we got to really like pick it up and get all these features out. I think the whole process got accelerated for them. They improved the product. They put out a second version of the product, and I just messaged them and said, hey, I made this video. I know you saw it. I would be really interested in trying out the products now because I see that you've made all these improvements. And they were like, great, we'll send you some stuff. And from there, they're one of the closest brands that I work with today. And if you go to Rolly's Instagram, I did an Instagram takeover for them last weekend. That gained me a ton more attention because I was on their site. And the only reason I was comfortable with it is because they literally took all the feedback and like applied it. They listened to the community, and they put out a newer product that was better and improved. They did the Seaboard block, and the Seaboard block was huge, and I got to get my hands on it, be one of the first ones with my hands on it, and that was like super exciting too. So that whole brand partnership came out of me literally just saying my opinion and saying I don't like something. So that's just one example of that. The second piece of real estate that I'll talk about is this video, which is called Buy This MIDI Controller. This is the most popular video on my channel. And essentially what was happening was I was doing all these videos with MIDI controllers, and literally every video someone was confused about what a MIDI controller was. Somebody would say, oh, what kind of sound does a MIDI controller make? What sounds does it make? How do I get the sound to come out of it? And we all know, hopefully, because we're at 343 Labs and we're educated electronic music artists, that MIDI controllers just control software.
All right, first things first.
And I just needed to answer that question. I got tired of typing the answer to that question, and I said, let me just do a video on it. And this was just a solid piece of, like, it's just resource. Like, it's a resource for somebody. Anytime somebody wants to buy a MIDI controller, they search those terms, what MIDI controller do I buy? And then this video would come up. And then I direct them to certain ones, and then we'll start talking about, like, revenue streams, right? So, cool. I say, buy this MIDI controller, and I give people different options and explain what they are. But then if you go to the description, you can see the gear featured. I say I always recommend, and I have my top 2, and then I have a bunch of other ones that are featured, and they're all Amazon links. But these aren't normal Amazon links. These are Amazon affiliate links. So being an Amazon affiliate is one of my main sources of revenue on YouTube. Because what happens is anybody can apply to be an Amazon affiliate. And what all it means is you get like a special stripe on your site. Like I can literally go to Amazon right now and you'll see what it looks like. So it's a special stripe at the top, and I can type in any product. Let's just type in a launch pad. Cool. Yes, I want to recommend this launch pad. I click text up here. I get this nice generated link that I can copy into one of my video's descriptions. And when people click that, it links back to me if they make a purchase, and then I get a commission off of that. So you can imagine if you have the #1 video on a certain topic and it's about products, that if you're the one who's recommending the products and you have Amazon links, you're going to get a ton of traffic, make a ton of sales, and get a ton of commission. And that just sort of became the standard for me going forward. Is I became an Amazon affiliate. It kicked right off because I became one probably right before I made this video, which was like perfect timing. And then from there, it became one of my main sources of revenue. So now if you go on my channel, anytime I use a piece of gear, anytime I use anything, even if it's like my video shooting setup, you can go in the description and probably find Amazon links. And it doesn't cost the consumer any extra. They're literally just buying things on Amazon like they normally would. And I get a commission for it. So that pays me monthly. The other cool thing about that too is, say like somebody's like, oh, I might check out a Launchkey Mini, and they click the Amazon link and then they go, oh, never mind. And they get distracted by like a side ad that says dog food, and they go and buy dog food on Amazon. Because they went through the link, no matter what they buy, even if they don't buy the product I linked to, I still get a commission. So I get tons of stuff, and I can like see, I get a list every single month of like, I can see exactly what products people have bought from the links. And mostly it's music gear, but other times it's like I bought vitamins, or I bought like a wellness and nutrition book. Like, it's just very interesting to see.
And how did you get that? Do you have to break down?
No, like Amazon just has an affiliate program that anybody can apply for. The one challenge there is like once you sign up, you have 30 days to like at least have, I don't know what it was. I think it was like 10 sales or something like that, because not just like anybody, you can just randomly have one. You have to actually be directing traffic. So that's how they like gate it. You have like 30 days to make some sales.
People want to use you?
Not necessarily. Anybody could use it. Like if you had a regular blog, if you have an online if you have any online channel, and you can just get these links and post them anywhere. I could send out an email blast to like my email list and say, hey, I'm using this, and they could go right from there. As long as they're using my link, the commission happens, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. At this point, it started rolling in pretty quickly. Let me see if I can find it's hard to go back and remember, but what I can do is like do like a little bit of like educated guessing. So if I go back, so the Rolly video and the Buy This MIDI Controller video, those are the ones beyond me just getting the attention from Novation in the initial part that really boosted everything up. So by that point, so I made this video. Actually, the video right after Buy This MIDI Controller is my 1,000 subs video. So right after Buy This MIDI Controller, I remember that was like towards the end of the year, and I was really hoping that by the new year I hit 1,000, and then before I knew it, it was at 1,000. It was just growing super fast. So right after Buy This MIDI Controller hit 1,000 subscribers, which is not that much, and I wanted to build it up more, but the rate the growth was happening was like super exciting. I'm just going to keep scrolling through and going on. So like from there, I was more and more mindful of consistency and personality and building community, all those things. So you can see the stream of videos is very consistent. And then right around the same time, I got my first brand deal or brand sponsorship, which was Novation. So previously, Novation had never given me any gear. This is before Rolly even like sent me any gear, but they sent me a Novation circuit. They were like, hey, we just love the work that you do, and we would love to send you a circuit. And if you like it, make some videos with it. And that was sort of the marker of like, this is the first time somebody like noticed and somebody like was willing to give me something for free and let me make content with it. And that was really exciting. And it sort of like built a foundation for what was to come, because now that's just a part of my daily like experience. From there, I realized it was really important to diversify, because sure, I had 1,000 subscribers and it was growing pretty fast. But the thing you always have to think about is if YouTube went away, like if YouTube like went down tomorrow, which it could, you would never know, what would happen? My whole artistic library is there. Like it'd be gone. The whole community, I would have no way to get in touch with anybody. Like it would literally just be gone. So I started thinking more realistically about Instagram and about Facebook, but not just like Facebook pages. What I did was I started a Facebook community group. So this is like a closed group that you basically had to ask to join and get approved. And in order to channel people into that, I started a podcast, which is sort of another platform. I started TAETRO Radio, and what I would do with TAETRO Radio is if you joined the Facebook group, you could submit music, and I would take 3 or 4 submissions a week, and people would submit their songs, and on the podcast, I'd say, hey, what's up? This is what I'm doing, and then I would review the songs, be like, listen to their music, and just review it and just give my thoughts. And it's not like I'm particularly like, sure, I have like a music degree and sure, I love electronic music, but literally just giving my opinion, like doesn't go far beyond that. And then the next video after the first podcast episode is actually really interesting too, because it speaks to like being topical, like reacting to things that are happening in the news or things like that. So this video has like 20,000 views, and it's literally just me talking about the announcement of like the Akai MPC Live and things like that, and my thoughts. And I had like kind of negative thoughts on it. You see like the likes and dislikes are even, which is like pretty rare for videos on my channel. And the comments are like seething, like people are so mad. But it garnered like a lot of attention. Like people still came to the channel, and you would search up Akai MPC Live and that video would pop up. So again, that's buying real estate. That's sharing your opinion. Like I didn't have to do anything extra besides sit in front of my camera and talk. Like it's just that easy. And that's.
I think you're being shy. I think it'd be great to see some of that content, like at least part of those videos.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead. It's literally just me talking, which is what I'm doing here. But like if we just go to the middle, like
price. However, people just starting to get into things,
look at the
that
quality,
price
it's so
tag
bad.
is gonna scare them away, especially when there are so many other items like MIDI controllers that cost so little. I do think that people are more willing to buy smaller items for less money than a larger item for a lot of money, because they always feel like they're getting a deal with smaller items for less money, even
like,
if the amount of smaller items
it's
equals
so
the
cringy. This is why we can't watch it. Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that a lot of the videos that you're getting the most engagement aren't actually related to your own music. So how
Totally.
did your following or your increased engagement with these videos that are kind of like more discussion or tutorial topics affect your engagement with your actual music?
What ultimately ends up happening is you becoming like this authority on a subject, and you being a person people associate so closely with electronic music or like controllerism or whatever the topic is, means that you have so much leverage for your audience that you've provided them with so much value and so much resources that when it is time for you to put out music, the audience is already there. They've already subscribed. They've already come to you, and they almost feel like connected to you, so they're way more likely to listen to our music unless you're just some random DJ on SoundCloud, you know? Like they've already built up a relationship with you. So when you put out music, it's less like, oh, let me just listen to this random thing on Spotify. It's more like, oh, let me listen to TAETRO. TAETRO's that dude who does all the electronic music stuff. And then when I do more performances, like as it goes on, like I got the circuit. Not only do I talk about the circuit, but I make beats with the circuit. And then I put those tracks up on SoundCloud, and then people can go listen to them. But really, like I just loved YouTube as a platform, and I liked making videos and releasing videos better than I liked releasing just tracks standalone. Yeah. So I'm pretty like sporadic about it. Earlier days, I was doing mostly SoundCloud, and then I also have like some Spotify releases, but it's all linked. So like if I did a beat video, I would just say, if you enjoyed this beat, here's the link. You can go download it. And I would literally just give it away for free, because I'm not expecting to sell albums. Like that's not one of my main revenue streams at all. And that's a serious thing that you have to think about if you're in electronic music now. People don't buy music. Like they don't. Maybe people in this room buy music, but I don't. I love music, and I literally don't spend money on music other than my Spotify subscription every month. And for a small artist, unless you're Lady Gaga getting millions and millions of streams, like one stream is worth like 0.00000017 cents. So it was kind of impractical for me to think about sales for my music or like streams as a revenue source. So the channel, in addition to the Amazon associates, and this is a good like jumping off point to talk about, also is an income source because I get Google AdSense. So every time you click on a video, Google automatically puts an ad on it. You watch an ad, plays for 5 seconds, or you skip it or whatever. And based on that, based on the amount of views, the amount of eyeballs that the video gets in front of, you get money generated from that every month. So that, and combined with the Amazon associates situation, what is enough to pay. It doesn't pay all my bills every month, but it's enough to pay, say, like my internet, my electric, my car loan, my student loans. Like it's enough to pay, like make a pretty sizable chunk of my expenses. More than getting streams ever could. Like, sure, like if something blows up, maybe streams will be something, but you know, that would come with time. Now having like these literal like pieces of real estate content that are like they're just generating revenue on their own, it was just more viable for me as an artist, understanding like the current climate of like the music industry. Like I don't think you can, as an independent artist, rely solely on music sales or streams in the current market. So that's why so much of what I do is built on personality and building community and connection. People like my videos, so therefore when I want to put out a release, they'll come and check out my music. And then I can put out my own music as a performance, then do a tutorial, and then it all comes full circle. Like I just watched this tutorial about how he made that track. Oh, that track actually sounds really dope. Let me go listen to it. And then I become not only known for talking, but I become known for being an electronic musician, which is kind of the end goal for all of us, I think. Where is I going to go after that? Oh yeah. So like I get the circuit, I start vlogging a little bit, going around doing performances. Goes back to what I talked about before about like my main platform isn't even Spotify or SoundCloud. It's YouTube, which is a visual platform. From there, I'm getting more brand sponsorships. So Arturia starts to notice me, and Arturia starts sending me controllers. Then the Rolly situation happens when I say, hey, let me give this another shot. And they're like, okay. They were happy to make me as happy as possible because I had that leverage of being the one saying, don't buy Rolly gear. And luckily, they actually did make improvements. It would have been really sad if they had not. So Arturia notices me, so I get a mini lab in the mail, and then I make content with that. Then they're like, we like that. So now we're going to send you a drum brute. And then I got a drum brute in the mail. So it's like, what this did was like, it snowballed everything because I needed to make more content. I knew people liked controllers and different, like, you know, drum machines. And all of a sudden, I didn't have to spend my own money. I was just getting it. Like, it was just happening, which was really exciting. Goes on, I try to make some more like successful content, still building connections with my community. And it just it's just gone on from there, you know? So by this time, so like about a year went by when I was going from like 1,000 subscribers to about 20,000 subscribers. And what it has basically done is like over doubled in the past like 2 years. So now I'm at like 57,000 something. And it just keeps growing at a faster and faster rate. But now, like as we scroll through this, what you have is literally just this archive of either resources or entertainment. If you're into electronic music, like controllerism, there's things that you can watch and just like, you can just sit here and like you could watch these videos for a pretty long time. And the more videos that I put out, it's like the more chances I have to get somebody's attention, get somebody new to hear me, get somebody new to see my music. Rolly just sponsored all this content because they sent me like a songmaker kit and I was going on a trip and they were like, oh, can you make videos and go on your trip? And it's like, hell yeah, I can. And then that gives me content to keep my channel current, and it gives me leverage because I have that. I get to get this gear and make content with it and become a resource for that. From, I guess, like that kind of like covers a ton of it. But I guess like just the general philosophy around this is like, for the longest time I was making excuses about why I couldn't make content. Oh, my camera's too crappy, or I don't like making videos, or people aren't going to listen. Or the biggest one was, these are visual platforms. I'm screwed. I'm a musician. I don't make visual content. And I was just making an excuse out of that instead of problem solving. So the problem solving part of that is like, people love to look at that. Like, this stuff looks cool. We actually have an advantage as an electronic musician that like the gear all looks like super futuristic and spacey, and it's actually very visually engaging. So I was able to make content not only in like thumbnails, but like thinking more about how to film things so that it looked cooler. I realized that like overhead views were super engaging. People liked videos where they could see everything. They cared a little bit less about my face and more about the gear. So great, I'll start shooting overheads. Or like a video like this, when I started getting super into how things looked, got myself a drone and a better camera and shot different angles. Because nobody, like, remember the rain performance? It was just a single stagnant shot of me sitting on the floor. And then cut to this, which is probably like 3 years after that. Now there's 2 camera angles and a drone, and it's just a lot easier to watch. Like people want to watch. You want people to watch your videos. And how do you keep people interested? Well, you're making music. That's pretty interesting. But visually, how can you make the visuals more interesting? It's cut to the music, random drone, like there'll be more drone shots as this video goes on. This is another example of a brand sponsorship too. Like Artifon sent the Instrument One to me and was like, hey, check it out. And like, of course, I'm happy to do it. People come to my channel to see MIDI controllers, and the MIDI controller companies want to send me more MIDI controllers, so it like literally just feeds itself. So you can see how this sort of evolved over time from me like really fighting the concept of not wanting to do video and not thinking video was important, to me starting to really understand the audience and the platforms, how visuals were actually super important, and that saying I make music was not a good enough excuse for not making visually exceptional content. Sure, this takes a little more effort and a little more time, but when you get to a point, and it obviously didn't start there. Like, you guys saw all the sketchy, it's out of focus, the sketchy old videos. Like, obviously it didn't always look great, and it could have looked way better, and I could have just said, well, if it's not going to look great, I'm not going to do it at all. But if I didn't start by shooting on my Galaxy Note 4 and editing an iMovie on an iPad, I would have never gotten to that point, because I would not have built up this foundation of skill that I needed to make a video like the one you just saw, or like the ones I'm making today, or to even be hired, like when I'm working with 343 Labs, shooting their tutorials, or working with other companies. Like, I got drafted to teach like online courses with another company, and basically they just said, we don't need anything fancy, just shoot it how you would normally shoot a video, and we'll pay you money to make tutorials just like you do on your channel. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Like editing and, oh yeah, totally. Right. Yeah. Totally. So the cool thing about having used iMovie is that Apple also makes a product called Final Cut Pro, and Final Cut Pro is very much, they do this with GarageBand and Logic too. Like, if you started working in GarageBand, it's very easy to graduate up to Logic, because a lot of the concepts are the same, and a lot of the the interface is the same. So with Final Cut was the same way, graduating from iMovie up. I was getting serious about it. It was generating enough income so that I could buy Final Cut. And it really wasn't like a cost. I was getting money from my business essentially and putting it back into the business by buying Final Cut. And so that was an easy process, but I would still watch tutorials on how to use like Final Cut, how to do different things, because there was a bit of a learning curve. Started by using a Sony A5000 camera, which is like a $500 camera. Didn't break the bank on that. It was like super portable. As time went on, upgraded. Now then, I was shooting on like a Lumix G7. Now I'm shooting on like a Lumix G85, which is like a $800 camera. So it's like all these like little steps up. Just, I wanted to increase the quality. I wanted to have external audio. And what I'll do when I do a lot of these sessions, essentially I have a portable recorder that I carry with me. I'll bring a speaker. I have my camera, either one or two cameras. Most of the time, if I want to shoot two angles, I'm shooting with my main camera, which right now is the G85, but back then it was the Sony. And then my second angle was my phone. So now I have an iPhone 8 Plus, and the quality on that is like way better than like the Note 4 that I was shooting on. So like for a second angle, it works out fine. Got myself like a little phone stand, a tripod, then boom, hit record on both. I have two angles of a session. Hit record on the portable recorder, send the audio out from my laptop, sync it all up later, and then you have like a really cool video, because you have two angles. Like, you'd be surprised like how much just having a second angle can step up that quality, because just having like those different cuts to like different angles, like a viewer doesn't get as visually tired. This transferred to Instagram too, because it was that whole concept of, I don't want to be tied down to one platform. If that platform goes away, I'm screwed, all that. So, Instagram, even more than YouTube, is about visually stunning content. So I really started to dive deep into like just photographing myself and photographing my setup. Not even myself. People want to see the gear. That's what I realized. There's all these like gear porn pages. And I racked my brain for the longest time about like, how can I still be like me as an artist, but also like be that? Like, how can I attract the people like that? And I realized I didn't have to do much other than take pictures of my desk. And I've just built up so much gear from like the sponsorships and stuff that it's enough to keep it visually interesting. Every video has a photo, like has a decent photo that goes with it. So every time I post a video, it's like, hey, just posted a video with the Machina like Micro, and then I post a cool picture of the Machina Micro, and that channels back to YouTube, and then take like a 30-second clip of a video and put it on here. really about just like people love this kind of picture. I don't know why. People love like the downward shot of like gear. What that does on Instagram is brands and pages like the actual like gear porn pages that have like 300,000 to like 1 million followers, they'll see a picture like, I can't remember the last one that went kind of like viral. It just got like shared so much. Like this one gets shared a lot. It gets shared. People say, oh, what do you guys think of this setup? And it's on some other page and it says by TAETRO. And what that does is that gives me the attention of their whole audience. So I might only have like 7K on Instagram, but the reason I've been like building that up and it's been moving kind of fast is because all these pages love this visual style of content. They repost, I get in front of their audience comes to my page. And when they get to my page, they see even more because I've applied all the same like consistency and personality and like value stuff to the Instagram as well. Yeah. Yeah, I use hashtags. I basically have a note in my phone now that has all the main hashtags that I use, which is just like tag the brand, tag the gear, music producers, like that kind of thing. I don't try to go overboard when I do it, but just making sure that's all tagged. And that's how people sort of discover it. And then it gets put on people's explore page once it gets enough attention. And then realizing that you can also provide the same amount of value. For instance, like this one that I posted recently was all about like using an arpeggiator to do trap like hi-hats and rolls. So that's a clip from like a full YouTube video, but it stands alone as itself, like as a piece of content on Instagram, because it still provides value. It's a quick tip. It's not as deep as the other video, but the caption matters just as much. So I literally just explain it in the caption, using an arpeggiator on a single note, easy way to steadily add a hi-hat pattern. And it's literally the same. The only thing that people get caught up with is every platform has its own formats and its own like ideal dimensions and all these things. And it's really important to understand the different nuances between the different platforms. You can't just take a YouTube video and put it on Instagram. That's not going to work. Wide shots don't do the best on Instagram. 4:5 images do the best, which is like, this is the format of like a 4:5. And so this was a clip. This is a picture from a video that was obviously like 16:9, a wide shot, and then reformatting it to be the most engaging on Instagram on the different platforms. And then you might want to tweet a picture and you don't want to put it as 4:5 on Twitter really, because that's not going to crop right. So figuring out that like 4:3 works better on Twitter, and just really like diving deep and understanding all those nuances of all the different platforms. You can't make just one piece of content and expect it to work across all the platforms as it stands. You really have to tailor it to each platform. But yeah, like I was saying before, if we go to Rolly's page, we scroll down a bit, I got to do that takeover. So now it all of a sudden looks like it's my Instagram, but it's not. Which means, so I, again, only have like 7.8K. They have 70, almost 80K. So I get put in front of that audience now. And before I did this takeover, I probably had just over 5,000. So it grew. So this is one of the most more recent ones. And then when a company like, I think this is there. No, it's not. Let me look it up. Yeah. So then when a company like Akai shares a picture like this, that's mine. I get to get in front of their audience. They've like shared other videos too. I don't know if it's recent or not. But it's all that leverage. And like they again have 256,000. So like having that like visually exceptional content gets you in front of other people if you act on it right. And then if you want to take it to the next level, what I usually do, like I didn't keep up with it as much, but trying to interact with this audience now, because maybe they just saw a picture and thought it was cool. But if they see like, oh, TAETRO hearted your comment, they're way more likely to come to my page and follow. And people forget that a lot. It's like the social aspect of social media, like even on their own pages, like I try to keep up with it as much as possible. And for a while, like it's hard to keep up with, but I try to at least reply to like every comment, especially when a video just drops. Really try to make sure that I am being social on social media, because if you care about your small audience, if you care about the audience that's actually showing up to like view your content, then you're going to come across as, you want to just be authentic, not come across as authentic, just literally be authentic. So even if it's just saying thank you, and even if it's just going the extra step, and like if John whatever comments and says great work, I say thank you John, like I use his name. It's not just like a generic thing, like actually caring about your audience, responding, answering questions. A lot of people do like, oh, what do you guys want to see next, da, 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 da. And then people leave all these comments, and then they just do whatever they're going to do anyway. They don't actually listen to the audience. When you could be like, oh, commenter like John whatever said I should try this, so now in this video I'm gonna do this, and like imagine how excited John is, and imagine how he's gonna go show 5 of his friends that you mentioned him on your video. It just spirals, as long as you just care about your community and be authentic. The other thing like that it comes down to is time. Like this is a very time consuming process, but what I will say is for the past 4 years, so for the pretty much the duration that this channel I've taken it seriously, I worked a full-time job in youth development. So I was a music director at a boys and girls club, and it's a very mentally intense job, and still just managed. I was commuting in and out of Boston every day, so like an hour commute in, an hour commute out, taking my weekends and just really like trying to pump out this content, get editing done as quickly as possible. And it really was a second job. Like I still work 7 days a week. So for the past 4 years, working that 40 to 50 hour a week job, coming home on weekends and evenings, getting these videos out, sending emails, conversing like with brands and the community. It was really hard. It was a lot. And still, even now that I just went full-time freelancer, like I'm here at 343 doing content, and then I work with another nonprofit doing content, and then also trying to sustain the channel. Like it's not one thing, you know. There's creators out there, like I'm sure you all have seen like Andrew Wong's videos and stuff, and he's huge, right? So like for him, he has the freedom to do like whatever he needs to do, because he's built up that audience over time. He did daily content for a while, which is one way to get really ahead of the algorithm. But for me, like as a smaller creator, maybe I can't make this my full-time thing yet, but it still generates a decent amount of income, and that makes me comfortable, so I can pay my bills and not really have to scrounge things up. Like if everything else went away, I would be able to pay still like most of my bills, and then find I could go work at Starbucks for 10 hours a week and then be fine. You know, like if it's all about like keeping yourself safe, keeping yourself, you know, secure, that kind of thing. And what this channel provides me is at least some sense of security with the real estate of videos that I have up, and keeping the steady stream. And when you do keep it consistent and you keep pumping out content, it's the same thing with music, right? Like if you really want to get known for your music, you should be putting out like a song every single day, because you don't know which one is going to be a hit. If yesterday's song wasn't a hit, tomorrow's might, the next day's might. You literally never know. I had no idea that Buy This MIDI Controller was going to be a super successful video. I just knew I wanted people to stop asking me what sound a MIDI controller made. You just keep going, and you keep going with your gut. Like I could have stopped after those other videos didn't get a lot of views, but I didn't, kept going. I'm totally satisfied when like my regular videos just get 1,000 to 2,000 plays, because I know that I might put out a video that will do 20K, that'll do 30K, like, and I know that I can go do covers that I want to do, and not as many people will watch them, but I love doing it. So like I can still like feel satisfied as an artist and do what I want to do, but also it's like a give and take. Cater to the audience a little bit, do a little bit what I want to do, and try to blend those things. I sleep like a really decent amount, actually. Like I get at least like 8 hours. I'm not like a crazy person. Like, yeah, I'm not a crazy person like Casey Neistat, but what it is like most of my waking hours are spent like doing this. Like it doesn't matter. Like if I'm chilling with my friends, if I'm sitting like watching, even if I'm sitting watching Netflix, I'm like planning out a video, or I'm editing a photo, or I'm typing out a caption, or I'm making a thumbnail, like, or I'm editing. Like I did a video. So I started this series called Mentor Mondays, and it talks about that. And the Mentor Monday that talks about friends versus work. So that's literally like a vlog, and it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm from Boston, so like Patriots, but I really needed to get a video out the next day because I had this plugins video that I needed to put out because they sent me the plugins, and that was when the embargo was up. I wasn't gonna be able to hang out with my friends and get out the video unless I brought the editing and all that to like the Super Bowl party. So it's like you can sleep 8 hours, just like how do you spend your waking hours, Like, how do you spend the other 16 hours of your day? We'll go here first then. A very small percentage. And the reason for that is people consume content on their favorite platforms, and they consume content in the way they want to consume it. And every platform has their own audience. It's not the same people across every audience. So I'm very much still YouTube centric because that's where I built up the following. And the reason I had that following is because that audience loves YouTube and they love consuming content in that way. Everything else has been a bit slower, but still better off than if I didn't do it at all, So I put we talked about like time and everything, most of my efforts go into creating videos for YouTube. And I'm very self-aware about that. So when I put out music, like I literally just took a bunch of these beats that I made and put out like an 8-track like beat tape. And I'm going to be able to drive some of my audience, like especially the people in my Facebook community. Like my Facebook community has 300 to 400 people in it. So out of like 57,000 subscribers, 300 to 400 of those people said, I like you so much, I'm going to get approved to join this group. And I'm totally fine with that. I would love every platform to be, at a higher level. But you have to be like aware that I know that I'm putting most of my effort into creating content for YouTube, so I can't be mad if my Instagram isn't growing as fast, if my Facebook group isn't growing as fast, if I'm not getting as many plays on Spotify. If I wanted to do that, I would just go heavier on those things, but then I would have to kind of, time is fungible, but you can only like give so much time to YouTube, to Instagram, to really going hard in the different platforms. Did you have a question? So everybody in this room has an opinion, and I assume most, if not all, the people in this room are a creative person. So you create some type of art, or you're getting into creating some type of art, and it's the difference. So I follow a person named Gary Vaynerchuk who runs like a media company, and he talks a lot about like content. And the thing that he always says is document, don't create. So if you literally if you don't know how to play the guitar and you're going to learn how to play the guitar, it would be super interesting if I was also still learning the guitar, watching you talk about how you just went to your first guitar lesson and this was hard and this was hard and this was hard. And suddenly I feel less alone and I feel connected to you because we're feeling the same things. So like that can be applied to a bunch of different things. Like literally just documenting your process or what you're doing. Where a lot of people also get caught up is like trying to be the expert in something, and that's not what it's really about. Like I don't think I'm the expert on any of these things. I'm literally just telling people my opinions. Maybe I have a little bit more like education and a little bit more experience than some, but I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not saying this is the way to do this. This is how definitively you do X, Y, and Z. I'm saying this is how I do it. So you can do that with anything. Like, hey, I'm learning how to use Ableton, and this is how I'm going to make an 808, or this is how I'm going to do whatever. This is how I'm making my first track. Like, I'm sure I could search that up and type in like making my first track in Ableton Live. Some tutorials might come up, but then you might also find someone that is literally making their first track in Ableton Live, and that provides some value and some sense of connection for people. Document versus creating. That's like one of my biggest things. I think I like, the one thing I didn't talk about was data. Like all these sites provide you with like a really nice, not all of them. So YouTube and Instagram do the best at it. If you're an artist, you should definitely convert your Instagram to a business profile, because that's how you get like insights. You don't have to do anything different other than just like switch it over. But you get insights, which is actually going to tell you how, it's going to tell you when your audience is most active. So I get a nice little grid that says your audience is mostly using Instagram at 12 p.m. every day, or it gives you like the times across a bar, and it says at 12 p.m. it's pretty active, and then it peters out towards the evening. And it gives you the days of the week that your audience is most engaged. It tells you which pieces of content were most engaging, where it got shared. So you can sort of make assessments over like, oh, this content was successful. Let me see what's the common thread between all these. What did people like about this? And then it kind of like dictates your content going forward if you want to sort of go in the same directions. And then on YouTube, you get a ton of analytics. You get watch time, you get subscribe, like how many people like versus disliked, you get subscriber count. And what you can do eventually is look at it, what I like about YouTube, over time. So eventually you'll see trend lines, you'll see spikes. Like I see spikes when I have a video that goes over 100,000 views. I get like a ton of subscribers, and then it like comes back down. And it's hard to like not get caught up in like it being a numbers game. But what ultimately happens, and I'll just try to demonstrate it here, is like, so you start down here, right? And you get like a little bit of traction, and then it spikes because you do something like really popular and super cool. And then it comes back down. Inevitably it comes back down. But when it does, it goes up. And what you're constantly trying to do, no matter if it spikes, is raise that baseline. So what I've done from where I started to where I am now is I've constantly raised that baseline higher and higher. And you can literally see this as a trend line. YouTube literally gives you graphs that look like this, and you can like analyze it. And it's really easy to get caught up in metrics and be down on yourself and be like, oh, I was so popular here, but now I'm not popular anymore. But if you really are patient and look at it over time, you'll see that you're making so much progress, like so much net progress. Yeah, that's my points about data. But does anybody like questions, anything about like social media in general? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you tried experiments around whether it's now knowing that information, whether timing your posts to be at a popular time or before that or after that?
Yeah, I just literally post now when it says it's most popular. When I can, I post at the highest traffic time all the time, and I get more engagement. And I'm cringing right now because I uploaded a video at 12, and I have an Instagram post to go with it, but it's 12:26. So as soon as we're out of here, I'm going to post on Instagram. But that's okay, because basically it's like 12, 1, 2, and 3 are even-ish. So I like, as long as I post between 12 and 3. But what's really cool is like you would think that would be universal, right? But I know somebody who is a model, and she posts, and I looked at, and she has way more followers on Instagram. Like Instagram's her main platform, and her analytics look totally different. Like I thought it would be relatively the same. Oh, people use Instagram, they use it the same way. No, like my audience is around at like between 12 and 3. Her time to post, we call it post o'clock, is like 3 to 5, like her most popular time. So it's really is unique to the individual creator. Not for Instagram. YouTube does it pretty well. Like I did a video last night from my hotel room, and you can literally just schedule stuff. What YouTube used to do, which is really interesting, and this speaks to like creating content for the platform, it used to be able to schedule things. Yeah, cool. Used to be able to schedule things that would tweet it out automatically. They took that away because they realized nobody wanted to click on this like generated tweet from YouTube. It just didn't work. You had to make content native to Twitter to get people to go engage with that content. So they literally took it away. So now with YouTube, I can schedule a time. And then I keep an eye on the analytics to see like what days are best, what times are best. So like 20, if I can get like 100 views in the first hour, I'm pretty satisfied. I know if a video is going to do well or not if it does that. And seeing the video that went up at noon, it's been 27, 28 minutes, and it's at 107 views. So I'm assessing in my brain right now, okay, Saturday at noon was like a good time to post. And then even better is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comments on it already. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. And that's kind of like the constant assessment that I'm doing in my brain. So talking about spending your time, you're not only spending your time creating the content, editing the content, creating the promotional content around it, the Instagram, the tweet, the whatever, the thumbnail, but then you take the time after it launches to engage with the audience and to push it out to all the different platforms in all these different ways. Does that make sense? I like to I do mostly, so I was experimenting lately. You see these videos are like under 2 minutes, and they did pretty well. Like I like having my consistent videos get like 1,000 views. Like that's pretty average. But so what you notice about that is like these beat making videos are all 1 to 2 minutes, and they get 1K views or above. This, where did it go? Circuit video got the same amount of views, but it was 6 minutes. I try to keep it under 10, but people do like the longer, like either beat making or tutorial style videos. Like it depends on how engaging the content is. Like with these beat making videos, it's all like me looping layers and creating beats out of loops. So I'm not going to draw that out. Like I'm not going to let you sit there and watch the whole process of doing that. What I'm going to do is cut up each individual layer. And when you do like 5 to 8 layers, it amounts to about 4 bars. It amounts to about a 2-minute video. So I'd rather the content be an engaging 2 minutes than a kind of boring 5 to 6 minutes, if that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like it not being chronological better because it lets the engaging content sort of rise to the top. And then it also, you can put more stock into getting reposted and stuff because you know it'll get in front of more eyes. And that's why analytics are so much more important, because you need to know like when your audience is there. What all these platforms do is they make an assessment about you as a consumer, and they say, you've watched this or you engaged with this kind of content, so the content we're going to show you is this. So when I get more engagement on a post, or my followers start liking certain types of posts more, that means that Instagram's algorithm is going to put it in front of them more. So I don't have to so if you think about like chronological, it doesn't help. Like chronological doesn't help because then you're just tied to what time of day you post. Whereas if you want to focus on the quality of your post, the algorithm really helps because you have to put out really great content to get noticed. That's kind of like my opinion on that. Nothing is chronological anymore. Like YouTube's not chronological. I don't think Facebook is chronological. I think you can set it to be, but so it really just comes down to quality. And a lot of people get mad about the algorithms, and some of it is arbitrary. You might put out like a dope piece of content, but you just didn't put it out at the right time or the right whatever. But if you do it well enough, like it's the market. The market decides. It's like business, you know. If it's great, people will notice. If it's great and people didn't notice, put different efforts around getting people to notice. Any other questions or talks around social media? I know is everybody here doing a course or involved in electronic music or create some kind of art or something. It can be hard. I guess what I just needed to get over was I'm a musician and I want people to listen to my music, but we live in the best digital age. We live in probably the best time to be a musician because it's so accessible to go out and make music or to go and learn how to make music. But the challenge in that is that everybody has access to the same tools and same everything. So how do you rise above that? Like, it's not enough to just be DJ whatever on SoundCloud. Like, it's not enough to be that anymore unless you basically hit the lottery and you get a song and you get like a dope singer on it and it gets picked up by a radio station or it gets picked up by a label, or yeah, unless you hit the. So I don't want to, if I'm looking at this as a business and I want it to be my means of income and my livelihood as a musician, you have to look at it like a business. You can't just play it like it's the lottery. Mm-hmm.
Any specific day that's good to post or not good to post?
It's different for everybody, but for me personally, weekends are good. Towards the Fridays are generally bad. Middle of the week, like Wednesdays, are generally bad, but it's not super. It's kind of even throughout the week. We're talking about differences of like a few hundred, which is pretty big. But trying to optimize, yeah, like weekends are great. Like you just think about your own behavior and then like observe people around you. Like, when do you see people on their phones the most? When do you consume content the most, and on what platform? Is there content, like, do you, like in the early afternoon, are you more on Instagram because you're commuting and you're on the train and you want something quick? And then in the evenings, are you more on YouTube because you're like sitting and relaxing and watching something? Just think about like consumer behavior and your own behavior. Like, you might not be the example of the typical consumer, but I'm willing to bet that we're all pretty close to like average in how we consume content.
I don't know if this is a really good question, but I'm struggling to figure out how to use Instagram. Like, what's the best way to use Instagram if you are releasing a new song and you want to promote that new song? Because Instagram is such a visual platform, right? So it's like, is it better to post a picture that has some sort of text on it that says, like, you know, I've released a new track with link in bio, or is a video like clip of that song better? What sort of video content? You know, like,
Yeah, well, like you said it right off the bat, is like Instagram's a visual place, right? And I also really don't want to see words on my Instagram feed. Like, I know it's an advertisement if I see words on it, and that's fine for you know, like companies and stuff. But if I want to connect with you as an artist, I want like some like authenticity. Like I might want to see like a picture of you in the studio, or I might want to see like a cool like promotional just picture of you. I might want to see you just like sing your song, like no mic, no nothing, like just like sing a part of it a cappella or something, you know, like connect with the audience that way by being authentic, or by being like, you know, what would be cool is if like you were in front of a microphone, like a cool picture of you in front of a microphone, people click on that and like hashtag singer songwriter, hashtag music producer, hashtag, and then in the caption you're saying, maybe you're not just saying, oh, go listen to my song, link in bio. You're going to tell me the story about what that song is. You're going to say, oh, this song is about like whatever, and whatever it's about. Like, just give them some sense of connection, some sense of authenticity, and tell your story, you know?
and then in terms of the hashtags and stuff, like I've heard that that if you're a really small profile, you shouldn't try and use a hashtag that has like millions of posts, right? Because you're
Right.
lost in the shuffle.
Totally.
So do you recommend kind of like diversifying hashtags between things that are like, you know, sub 100K?
Yeah, I don't think too much about that. Like, that is like a really good point, because like if there's a million people posting hashtag music producer, what's really the chances that you're going to get picked up on that? There's a chance, but you never know. So the more niche you can go, the better. Like, then that's with everything. That's with videos, that's with Instagram content, hashtags, all that. Like, if you can get that audience that's like tiny, and there's like 100 to 200 to 500 people that are super passionate about this one niche thing, and they find you through that, like, that's how you can grow and graduate up to the higher things. But I also wouldn't shy away from doing the bigger ones too. I wouldn't worry too much about that, because there is still the chance that you get picked up by, you know. And then also, like, what gear do you use? Like, it all comes down to that. Like, if you really wanted to, how did you make the album art? Like, who took the album art? Who took the pictures? What instruments did you use? Like, there's so many like layers of like, you just put out a song. Now, can you provide me value in the fact that you just like put out this song? Like, can you give me a tip? How did you write your song? How did you release it? What platform did you release it on? What distributor did you use? Like, now I'm like, I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm trying to figure out these things, and I find you. I'm like, oh, cool. She just showed me how to distribute my music. Let me go hear her song, and like, oh, the song's dope. Let me add it to my playlist. You see how like that, like spirals.
We do, for example, for 3 4 we do 3 levels of hashtags. We do one that is specific to that host, one that is like more technical stuff, and then we have like our own, like 3 labs, studio.
Right.
So we try to do like that. We're kind of testing it, but and then what we try to do is also like you mentioned things like that people can identify with, like songwriter. If someone is a songwriter and is really like looking for some, they might go and look for that.
Yeah.
We go back and forth on how.
NYC songwriter and like
Right. Location. Yeah. Geography.
because I'm from New Jersey, like New Jersey music, the New Jersey musician
Mm-hmm.
seems a little bit smaller than New York City.
Yeah.
So kind of like Brooklyn musicians are like going as kind of niche as you can get without
Yeah.
being like metropolitan.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're saying you like post all of your like, beats that you do and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you post like a SoundCloud or do you post
I haven't been posting them to SoundCloud. I just put a beat tape that's like on all the other like streaming sites like Spotify and all that.
so you don't actually post that to like your Spotify or anything like that? You keep it like separated basically from that because I know you have like your actual tracks that you do.
Yeah, so like I have it's like different layers, right? So like there's like I have songs with lyrics on them. I have songs with that are just like beats and ambient stuff. And that all most of it doesn't go up. Most of it is just like a performance and it sits as a video and that's like its main thing. It's not on any maybe it's on SoundCloud. In the earlier days I was doing more with like hear this session on SoundCloud, but I was realizing the audience didn't really want to do that. They wanted to watch the video and listen. So I just kind of like, if I had to make a time sacrifice, I wasn't going to do that anymore. Now I'm just trying to get more diligent with it because people are asking like, oh, where can I listen to these beats or whatever? So now I'm just being more consistent about mixing down some of these sessions and making them like full tracks and putting them up. So that's how with the latest like releases, like some of these that are like sub 2 minutes, what I basically did is took 8 of the best ones from recent memory, made them into like more full tracks and put them on like Spotify and Apple Music and all that.
Do you find it hard to like do your own personal music while doing like all the YouTube stuff and everything like that?
Yeah, it's a push and pull. I love making beats. So like any of the beat making sessions you see, like I just love making like electronic music and looping and beat making and all that. So like I'm happy with that as music, but it's definitely a change from like what I used to do. But it's like because you want to be consistent, because you want to get things out. What was happening before, it's like I wasn't putting music out or I wasn't putting enough music out. I'd put out like one EP, then a couple years would go by and then maybe another EP because I would sit with these songs forever. Now with this, like I film a session of me making a beat and it's done. The music's out. I'm not like, oh, let me go fix the mix. Let me go like do mix and mastering. Like that's all like BS to me now. It's like, cause the more you put out and with this, like you see just on looking at the channel, the quality like increase, right? Like how it like evolved up would have never evolved up if I didn't put stuff out. Same thing with music. Like the song you put out tomorrow is going to be better than the song you put up today, because you just learned something. And then when you put that at scale, song today, song tomorrow, song 3 weeks, 3 months, and then a year from now, all of a sudden you're like doing way cooler music. It's like, so now I can put out stuff without doing like a mixing and mastering and without doing like all this crazy like process where like I sit with the music for a month and vibe it out and then put it out like formally. No, I'm fast enough now that I can put out good quality music in one session. Yeah, totally. Exactly, yeah.
For the stuff that you are posting on Spotify, are you going through a longer mix and mastering process or are you pretty much just keeping it?
The release I just did, this goes back to like the idea of, remember how I was shooting on a Galaxy Note 4 and editing on an iPad mini because I hated all that and I didn't want to do it and I needed to be consistent and faster. this comes down to that too. So the recent release is not going to be like the best mix you've ever heard. It's not going to be any of that. It's taking these beats pretty much as they stood and doing some slight variation, like some slight mastering. I put like some like tape noise on there to like really vibe it out. Spliced in some like field recordings to do like seamless transitions between each track. But beyond that, I maybe did like a little bit of EQing, a little bit of leveling. But I did that in one night. It's not like I was like, oh, I'm going to take a week to like really master this release. It was like, let me just do it, get it to a point. These tracks already sound pretty good, but I'm going to release it. So let me just make sure everything fits in one package, you know, and then finish it and then put it out and then on to the next thing. Because if you get too caught up in the process, you do your output, you just don't put anything out. And I was getting really frustrated with that. And in this market where there's new stuff every single day for the consumer to look at or hear or listen to, you can't be a perfectionist.
With those same beats, have you done any, do you like reach out to try to get a playlist and stuff like that? And do that?
I think that's like the next step. Like that's kind of my goal with like the release, doing more like focus stuff. So like the release that I just put out is more like chill beats. And I'm hoping that I can get put on some playlists via that, because like it has to fit in. Like nobody cares like, oh, I'm TAETRO from YouTube, can you put me on your playlist? Nobody cares about that. But they might care, but they might like be like, oh, this is a cool chill beat, let me throw it on this playlist. Like totally agnostic of who I am or what my channel is, you know? Fits that profile. There's a bit of like artistic identity issues here too, because like I go from making like chill beats to like faster stuff to like singer-songwriter stuff. I love the bands, the 1975 and Pale Waves, which is like super like poppy, like rock music. So I've done like covers of their stuff, but like I do it like with a launch pad and stuff. So I try to connect it back. And that's that like Venn diagram of what I love, what the audience wants to see. How do I blend those things so I can still be happy as an artist? Mm-hmm. I experimented with it a little bit. Google makes it pretty easy to like run ads. Like say you want to like run an ad for a video. It's like, yeah, I'll put a little money into this. Or like I've tried it with like Facebook or Instagram. But I just find that like nothing beats organic reach. Eventually organic reach is going to go away, or the platforms are going to be so saturated that it's going to be really hard to have organic reach like that. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to come down to quality, and it's going to come down to community. Like you need to build up the people that are going to show up no matter what. And if you're capturing their attention initially, the algorithm picks you up and says, oh, well, these people thought it was interesting. Now let me show it to new people. So I think it's going to mostly come down to like community and personality, because like I said, it's so accessible to everybody. Everybody can do it. And what puts you ahead, you know? Like somebody's track might be way more dope than mine, but maybe they didn't know how to make a cool video about it. Cool.
Awesome.
Nah. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a DJ and I've been DJing for a couple of years now here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have social media at all. I never had Facebook or Instagram or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be your advice? Start.
Get up social media.
I mean, for me, all this is like something completely that for some reason I never had. Maybe not personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been just lazy to communicate, I guess.
Yeah.
But now I've been spinning here for a couple of years, and I've been spinning kind of like on and off
Mm-hmm.
without any promotion. I always have a friend who has a friend who's a DJ, or
Yeah.
I start working for our gallery, and they've been like doing events on and off. But that's it. And people always ask me, SoundCloud, and I was not sure what content I can produce, put it out there. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm seeing all this, it's more like, do I really want to do this? It seems like a fight.
I mean, do you have a phone? Do you have like an iPhone?
Yeah.
So what's to stop you from going to a gig and buying like a little tripod for your iPhone and filming it, and then getting a mix off the board?
I think at the beginning was the fact that I was not sure with my own genre of music, what kind of music I was playing from disco house or
Mm-hmm.
music, and it took me a little bit to know what's my feel, where I'm comfortable.
How did you figure out that? How did you figure out what you were comfortable with?
Experiencing, like just trying different.
So I'm a DJ that's just starting out and I'm having the same issue that you were having. Don't you think I would love to like Google like how to find your sound as a DJ and see your face and saying, hey, I'm a gigging DJ in New York and I was really confused about my style at first, but here's how I kind of honed my style.
Yeah, I guess.
Like you literally just set up your iPhone and talk. And then cut it down to like size if you want to, or just do it like straight through, or just go on like Instagram stories and talk about it. Like Instagram is probably the most accessible to start with. YouTube's a little bit more involved because you want to maybe do a little bit of editing and a little bit of branding. But like think about just if you wanted to focus on one, I would say go for Instagram because you can take pictures at a gig. You can take pictures of your gear. You can talk to the camera about your process, and you can do that all from your phone. So if you're super bogged down with like editing and video and stuff, I would just start with like Instagram.
And it's necessary to have like Instagram and Facebook or more than one platform and connect each other some way, or just use one at the beginning.
Well, if you just look at the example of me, like I have one main one that's like my main focus, which is YouTube, but then you just don't want to be, you want to diversify. You don't want to be tied to one. So, and it's a time proposition, right? It's a time you want to either put all your time into Instagram right now if you don't have that much time. But I always think that people have more time than they think they have if you really like audit the 18 hours a day that you're awake. So put some time into Instagram, but then like start to diversify. Like if you have to start, it's what's going to stop you from starting is that it's overwhelming. Start small and just go and just let it grow and you'll get better habits and all that. Yeah.
I guess I just wanted to pile on I guess the story I heard about the importance of social media that was kind of surprising to me. I was listening to a podcast, design podcast, residential architects.
Nice.
They were saying how important social media had become to them because they could get their work exposed in ways that they could get feedback from people who they wouldn't normally get. And that feedback, I think, is super important in the creative process. So even beyond raising your popularity, just raising your craft by being able to get feedback, that social media as an opportunity for feedback is very important.
Yeah.
I haven't got enough reach, but I've actually gotten any valuable feedback from Len and stuff. But I guess I'd ask you that question for him. Does some of the feedback that you get from all of your social media feedback to your creative process and help you?
I mean, totally. I mean, the videos look the way they do because I've honed like a visual style that I knew was that not even just like direct feedback of people saying, I like this, but like the feedback of like, this video did pretty well. This set of videos did pretty well. Why? Oh, they all had that camera angle, or they all like had like close-ups of the gear, or they all had me like talking about the process in it. And then that like influences the style going forward. To generate like even more of an audience because you said, oh, this little bit of people liked it. Now let me just consistently do that and then blow that audience up. And then you just like build the audience from there.
How do you feel about like posting stuff, if you're like on Instagram, posting stuff that's unrelated to your music? Like if you, like 'cause when I had a personal Instagram, then I started DJing, and then I couldn't deal with managing two different accounts, and I had no followers on my DJ account, not like famous DJ.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just merged them and renamed my personal one with my DJ name.
Mm-hmm.
But then like I have this personal stuff on there, or like stuff that's like I also play music on the piano, like game music on the piano, which is completely unrelated to house music, which is what I play, which is what I spin. Like how do you feel about like branding and like consistency versus like personal expression?
I'm trying to like scroll down on my Instagram to like make a point. But while I do that, it seems like you're in the thing that makes people like really hone their niche, right? Is figuring out like what intersections do you sit at, right? If you can really like find the audience that likes all those things and strings them together and is at like that apex, like that's the golden thing right there. It's like, oh, this audience loves this, but they also love this, and I can be at the intersection of all that. But if it's really spread out, like it kind of sounds like, you might just want to dive deep and like commit to having an Instagram that's much more focused. That doesn't mean you can't like post occasional stuff. I can't go back further enough to see how bad it was. But you know, my Instagram was like the same thing where it was like cat pictures and stuff, and like picture. Okay, but this is somewhat related because let me see why. I think this is like a sampling video. Let's wait for this. So like the material is there, the execution is not quite there. So you can see this as like a journey. Now, where I was wrong with this video and what would have been more interesting, okay, we don't have to watch it, is that, like Nacho said, it's a picture of a sink. If I instead made the thumbnail the picture of the iPad, it probably would have gotten more traction. But if Instagram wasn't being weird, I could scroll down like further and you would see, but like there was pictures of a cat and there's pictures of like my breakfast and there's pictures of like all this stuff. And like, sure, that was fine, but like, and like here, there's a picture of my family. There's things that I'm going to compromise on. There's things that I'm not going to compromise on. So you can even see at this point, and this is probably like 2 years ago, these posts, 2016. So like almost like 3 years ago. And there's things I'll compromise and things I won't. So yes, here I'm still trying to hone my Instagram, my visual aesthetic. But at some point I just realized like I'm the artist known as TAETRO. People are coming to me to see gear. People are coming to me to see like beat making and all that, and really focused it in. But that doesn't mean like I might not necessarily post a picture like of my family today because my page is so focused, but I might use stories to do that. Stories are a great way to like still do like the personal angle and like remain authentic. But at some point as an artist, you have to kind of commit to like these being like pages for you as an artist, not pages for you like as a regular old person. And then when you start to build up more and more of a following, so like you can see like as I scroll up, this gets like more and more honed. Like you see like more and more gear, and mostly gear. Like a picture of me on a red background, like who cares? Like why would I post that? And then just go up and you see more and more gear. And this is like the influence that we talked about before. Like this is like people reacting to things. So dictating like, so I'm making assessments over what type of content is important. And I'm looking at it as a business. I'm like, this content is more successful and is leading to more opportunity. So I'm going to hone the content. And maybe I like to post pictures of myself, and I'm going to do that once in a while and take one for the team and know that this picture is going to get 89 likes and this picture is going to get 159 because it has like gear in it, you know? And just being like okay with that. Like I don't post a picture of myself and expect it to get the same amount of likes that like the dope setup pic gets, but I'm still like, I'm doing some for me, some for them. The best part of doing it is when you find the thing in the middle. That's like for them, for me, where do we meet?
These pictures all look like really nice. Are you taking them just with your iPhone and adding filters, or are you taking them with like?
They're all with like whatever main camera I'm shooting video on is what camera all these pictures are getting taken with. So like most cameras nowadays, the one I have now and the one I was shooting on before, they all have like Wi-Fi. So you take pictures, connect to it with your phone on Wi-Fi, transfer it, and then I edit it. And like it's a whole process. Like it really is like, I think people like have a misconception about like social media, like that it's like easy. But like these videos were all taken with a professional camera. There's probably like 8 to 10 of these pictures, this same like picture, but like different angles and different things like on my phone, me picking out which one is the best, me putting it into Photoshop on my phone to first align it and do some color correction, then putting it into a separate app to do a different filter that I think looks better, and to put it in the right size, then putting it on Instagram, drafting it, coming up with the copy that goes in the caption. And then even like taking videos like this one is specifically for Instagram. Like this wasn't even a YouTube video. So I show that one because that was not a piece of content created for YouTube. That was a piece of content literally created for Instagram, which means I took that camera, I spun it on its side, so like it was shooting vertically. Did the beat making session just like I would. Ableton, record, boom, take all the footage, put it into Final Cut, format it for Instagram so that it's 4x5 in Final Cut Pro, send it back to my phone, put a filter on it, do all the hashtags, everything. So it's like literally putting that level of effort in for this like 30 to 45 second video. And it's native to the platform, so it has almost 25,000 views. And when Akai saw it and reposted it, it probably took me from like 4,000 to 5,000 followers. So now that audience is hearing my music, and the audience that's coming back to me for my music is there. It's like a Tascam. This is a DR07. No. Well, sometimes for some of these sessions, like if I'm just doing like looping, I can do like I can record it in session view and then just arrange all the clips and then like output that. I could do it that way. I do some videos that way. I prefer to do it this way because like say I wanted to solo over something like without recording it. Like if it was like a more soloed thing that I also wasn't going to like quantize or anything, like I'd still get the audio from that. So I get the audio from the whole session with this, and then I can cut. Then I like sync the audio to the video, then cut out the pieces, then make sure they blend together and make sure like it's a seamless transition between each part. That kind of thing. But that's like the level of effort that it takes to make a solid post that's like specifically for this platform. And like in photo content, it's obviously like a bit easier. You're just like taking a picture and then editing it, but it's still a level of effort, and it's still a level of what's the copy at the here. Like this was to promote a video, so cool. And then I got to tag the brand in it, blah, blah, blah. Make it 4x5. But again, like I probably stood there and took like 25 pictures of this setup and figured out which one was going to work the best. Literally, if you can imagine me in my apartment setting up the camera on a tripod, it's on a 2-second timer. I push the button, I run back into place, I sit at my desk, and then like literally like that's what happens. Yeah, I'm trying to find like other instances of that. Like, yeah, look really focused, like writing there and stuff, right? Which I was doing like a real life like writing session or whatever, but obviously like I'm sitting at my desk, pushing the button, waiting 2 seconds, and then hearing it and like doing that like 5 times to make sure I get the shot. Also, like it can influence like the gear you use. Like I know that when I use the Akai MPK Mini and I use the all black one, people love that. So like I use that even more now because I know I love the controller anyway, but like I use it more if I'm going to do content for social because I know that's going to be more successful. But it all feeds itself, and then understanding the market and what happens with it, because like IGTV came out, so then like being on top of the platforms. But then I was putting a little bit of effort into it where I would do a session on YouTube, and this comes back to also making content directly for the platform. IGTV content was vertical. It's all vertical. Well, you can do it horizontal, but like you have to like turn your phone, and that's weird. So doing a session for YouTube that was wide, and then doing a second session with the same setup that was vertical. And again, with 2 camera angles. And it's like a value proposition, right? So 668 views, like that's fine, but like people don't really consume IGTV. I don't know if anybody in this room does, but I don't really know anybody that consumes IGTV on a regular basis. So I don't put that much effort into that channel anymore, or into that like style of content. Maybe, but I have to pay attention to the market and see if it comes back up.
Do you feel pressure sometimes to make beats or like create full songs, or make beats or make songs faster because you have to create video content? You have to release video content constantly?
Yeah, a little bit, but what it also comes down to like is I just like making music. Like I like making beats and I like electronic music. I love it. So like where like it gets kind of tiring is like, and I do like self-care is important. So there's a little bit of pressure to record everything, to like do a video on everything. and I am like taking more time now to be like, I just want to sit and make music and not worry if the camera angle is right, and not worry about if the lighting is okay, and if I'm pressing record here and pressing record there. Like, I just want to make music. So there is an element of like self-care there. So if I really don't want to make a video, I can still make music without making a video. And yes, I'm going to feel guilty because I'm like, shit, that could have been a dope piece of content. But, and it happens every time. Like I make a beat, I don't video it or anything. I'm like, damn it, this is like dope. I wish I did it. So I try to, that's like part of like trying to make the video process as easy and seamless as possible. Like you don't see a lot of like moving cameras because it's all stuff I do by myself. Yeah, so it's a little bit of pressure there, but also trying to be mindful of taking care of myself. 343 Labs is an electronic music school and community in downtown Manhattan. We offer courses for all levels of learning electronic music production, with course topics including Ableton Live, Logic, synthesis for music producers, songwriting and music theory, and more. To learn more about 343 Labs, head to 343labs.com. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more tutorials with our instructors, masterclasses, and content from our electronic music community.